Okay, this is sentence construction 2, the second part. Relative clauses. We saw previously defining relative clauses. In this case here, I'll look briefly at non-defining clauses. In this case, we can use who, whom, which, whose, and where. You cannot use that in a non-defining clause. What again they do is that they add information to previously identified things or people. In this case, they're non-defining, so the information is not essential to complete the sentence. It can easily be removed. However, it does help to define the thing or person. For example here, Tom, who Jane loves, is going out with Claire. Who Jane loves is a non-defining clause. It's not essential, and it can easily be removed from that sentence to become Tom is going out with Claire. Works perfectly well. Who Jane loves simply is adding more information to the sentence, but like I said, is not important, is not essential to that sentence. Another example here, Joseph, who is very clever, is very nice. When we are using non-defining clauses, we need to separate them with a comma, both before and after, to identify them as non-defining, and it highlights the part of the sentence which can be removed. So in this case, I would get Joseph is very nice. I'm simply adding extra non-essential information to become Joseph, who is very nice. Joseph, who is very clever, is very nice. That, like I previously said, that is not used in non-defining clauses. Okay? It's not possible to admit the relative pronouns. What I suggest you do when you're looking at relative pronouns, working with relative pronouns, I suggest you omit, you don't use that in defining or non-defining clauses. Therefore, you won't get in a mess. Example here, Clark Kent, who I don't like, sits next to me in class. Perfectly good sentence with a non-defining clause. I cannot say Clark Kent I don't like sits next to me in class because there is no relative pronoun. Equally, Clark Kent that I don't like sits next to me in class. I don't like is a non-defining clause. I cannot use that because it is non-defining. I need to use who in this case. So like I said, I try to avoid the use of that to avoid confusion. What and which can also refer to the complete previous phrase. I'm afraid of flying, which is a problem because I travel a lot. Which in this case refers to the entire previous phrase. Reason and purpose. Purpose we've already seen previously in another lesson. We use to plus the infinitive to express the purpose of the action. The example here, I went to the bank to get some money. It's the purpose of the action, going to the bank to get money. So I use to plus the infinitive to give the infinitive of purpose. If I'm describing the general function of something, in this case I'd use for plus the ing form, the gerund. What's this shed for? It's for housing garden tools. I'm using for plus the gerund here. Shed is a type of baracca you would have in the garden where you keep garden tools, attrezzi for the garden. But be careful. If it's a specific action, then in this case we need to use the infinitive. We went into the shed to shelter from the storm. In this case I'm being specific, so I need to use to plus the infinitive. Negatives. To express a negative meaning, we can use so that plus a dependent phrase, or in order not to plus the infinitive. In this case here, they both mean the same. We made a detour so that we wouldn't get stuck in traffic. We made a detour in order not to get stuck in traffic. They both mean exactly the same. There's no difference between them. So that in order to. In order to, I use when I'm highlighting or perhaps emphasizing the range or the scope of an action, often used in long sentences. Tom got up early after a short restless night in order to catch the first train. I'm emphasizing the scope of the action in this case. So that, be careful with so that. So that, remember, uses two different subjects. So James made a detour so that his brother could see the lake. I have two different subjects here, so in this case I need to use so that. I couldn't say in order to his brother could see the lake. It doesn't work. Due to, owing to. Due to, owing to define the cause of something. We use due to, owing to plus a noun. The success of the product is due to its competitive price. This product is very successful product on the marketplace. It's very successful because it has a very good, a very competitive price. So I can say due to. Alternatively, you could say owing to the bad weather, the concert has been cancelled. Again, same idea, because of the bad weather in this case. In case. In case we use to indicate precautions, something you are predicting in the future in some way. In this case, here's an extra blanket in case you feel cold during the night. I don't know, but I'm predicting that maybe during the night you will feel cold. Therefore, I suggest you take an extra blanket. So I use in case. I'm foreseeing a possible situation in the future. So here's an extra blanket in case you feel cold during the night. Okay, that completes the second part of sentence construction part 2.